Hey everybody, welcome to Two Dads, One Car, where we talk about modern fatherhood. My friends, I'm bringing in the car a dear friend of mine. His name's Jordan. He's the father of 3 under 6 years old. We're part of the same mastermind circle, and the coolest thing is that not only is Jordan a incredible father, but he's also one of the leaders of a well-known local supplement company called Organica. You may have heard of it. You may have seen it on the shelves of stores, whether it's at Costco, Whole Foods, and beyond. But this is a quintessential example of someone who is a business executive, but also a father with a busy family life. So I'm gonna pick his brain a little bit to see how he does it, how he navigates it, what he's working on, the challenges, the wins, and beyond. And so this is gonna be a fun episode. We've got to know each other well in the past year, and I call him a dear friend. And so it's gonna be a fun and warm conversation. I know I said fun 3 times already. So we'll leave it with that. We'll catch up and pick him up very soon. All right, chat soon, everybody. Oh my gosh, Jordan, what a thrill to have you. First question, of course, glad to pick you up here for a nice little lunch recording. The first question I always ask is like, give us a snapshot of your family, like number of kids, rough ages, and then we'll start from there.
Yeah, so my wife and I, we have 3. Our eldest is 6. Our second is 3, turning 4 next month. And we have a 1-year-old at home as well. So boy, girl, boy, or girl, boy, girl.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. 3 under 6, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still looking good. So, I mean, like, I'm impressed.
You're too kind.
Well, I'm so glad to call you a friend. I'm so glad we had a chance to really dive deeper together this past year as part of a mastermind. And, you know, I've seen your growth and our collective journeys together. So you're like the perfect person to bring on the show. And so I'm glad to have you here, Jordan.
Thank you.
What would you say is like an unspoken truth about fatherhood? And again, keep it real, whatever just comes to mind. Like, we don't need to be fancy, but for you, like, what's unspoken? What's something that's not as like talked about?
Yes. You know, I've seen some pretty fun answers. Just watching some of the previous videos that you've done.
Yeah.
But I think for me, like, the number one word that comes to mind is fun. Like, if you're not having fun, in my opinion, like, you got to do something about it. I think, you know, there's so much excitement. There's so many adventures, and, you know, if we can just make a little fun out of it, I think that's one of the most unspoken truths, I think, about fatherhood.
What do you do in terms of like adding the fun into fatherhood? Because of course it's easy to like look at the other word of like opposite of fun is like not fun, I guess, right? Like, yeah. Tired, totally. Which is part of it too. But what do you do to lean into the funness, or how do you incorporate it in your fatherhood journey?
Well, I think for me, like, when we've had our first, like, we were literally the first out of all our friend group that even had a child, let alone like we're married. And so, as you can imagine, like, it was like that first year or two, it was kind of us figuring out on ourselves. And I remember at one point, like, we were just so stressed out about like every little thing.
Yeah.
And there was something that like just clicked one time when my wife and I were chatting about how we wanted to, like, you know, be as parents. And so, yeah, we just started incorporating little things that like were joyful to us. I think a lot of like our first few months or even that first year was like totally revolved around our baby and like everything like that. So yeah, just having that little switch in mindset and lifestyle, I think, was a big precursor to what came for our second, which was like, it felt like worlds easier with our second.
Okay.
And then eventually with our third, like, now it's just like, you know, it's whatever goes, right? I think we talked about the other, we had a laugh about that. It's like with the third, it's just like, whatever.
It's true. There's like that mental load is off, right? And I think I'm noticing that as well too with our second. It's like it's much less like intense.
Yeah.
It's like much less like right? Like even
totally.
the sound of the crying is like the volume is like a little lower in my mind at least.
Oh, it goes from like a stressor to like almost like music by the time you get to your third.
I mean, this is Zen mode here.
Totally.
So when you're incorporating it, like that switch, was there something that happened in the first year? Like, we gotta like change things up here, right? Like, what was it?
Absolutely. Like, I think between having a newborn, and all the pressures of work. And then, we had our newborn in 2019. So
Yes.
the next year was COVID year.
Oh man.
Trying to navigate, fatherhood for the first time and also running a business. It was actually that December in 2020 where I experienced like pretty bad burnout.
Yeah.
And I'd be coming home from work. I try to get home around like 5:30 for like dinner time because she ate earlier, my daughter. And I remember it was December and I'd just come home and like I'd be falling asleep at the dinner table. Like this was for like a week straight.
Oh man.
And my wife's already like been at home with our baby for the whole day. Like she needs all the support that I can give her when I get home. And it was like that moment, like of those 5 consecutive days where my wife was, something is wrong with you. Like this is not normal. Like you shouldn't be falling asleep at the dinner table. And it really like took that like prompt for me to realize like, hey, actually what I'm going through is not normal. So I guess, if there was one like key moment that was like kind of like a wake up call, it was that exact moment in 2020.
I can resonate with that, and I'm sure many of the listeners can resonate, right? Like you are grinding hard at work. Like we'll talk about business after this, right? But like you're pushing hard at work, you're exhausted. You come home, you're like nap, like falling asleep at the table, right? You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
wait a second.
Totally.
And first I was like, okay, this is like continuous, right? Like until you add another one, it just piles on. So good on you for having that like insight to like, okay, we got to switch here.
Yeah, no, it was it's so crazy because you don't realize it when you're going through it, but after you have that realization, you're like, oh my goodness, I've strayed so far from like how I want to be and how I want to show up. And so yeah, it was really that moment for sure.
I mean, this has probably been such a journey for you for the last 6 years. And just for context, right? Jordan, you run an incredibly successful business, right? And many of the listeners are in businesses of themselves. They are, whether entrepreneurs, business executives, politicians, like very busy people, right? And, I'm sure there's times when you're like taking calls on vacation and whatnot. I know you've been on a really fascinating like personal growth journey in the last year, right? And so maybe walk us through like pre and after. And of course, we're all on this learning journey, but what was it? Yeah, walk us through that.
Well, I think, for me, it was like going back to that 2020 December time period when I came to that realization. Immediately I was like, okay, what are some solutions that I could implement right away? So a couple key things from that following year was like just managing my schedule more appropriately. I think the whole onset of COVID, not knowing whether or not we're going to be able to operate, being on calls like in the middle of the night, talking to overseas suppliers, all that kind of stuff. It just wore its toll on me. So yeah, number one was like scheduling, making sure that I have like healthier boundaries with how much I give to work and how much I want to have for home. And then the other thing was working with an executive coach. I think, having somebody that can guide you through some of the mud that you're going through was an absolute game changer for me. And, I worked with a coach for about 1.5 years. We did the work that we needed to do, and I ended in 2022. And then, I took maybe about a 2-year break, and then this year I've kicked off again with a different coach. So yeah, I think it's a journey, right? You're learning as you go. All this is new. Like 1 kid, it's new. 2 kids, it's like a new dynamic, and 3, it's like a completely different dynamic. So yeah, I think that's kind of like what the journey has been for me the last 6 years or so, let's call it.
Yeah, and my takeaway from what you're sharing here is like there's some value in having like a third voice, right? Like a executive coach to support, whether through business, but also through, your personal navigation and understanding those pillars, right? Because I mean, you're at Organica thriving. You have some massive growth plans this year, and it's you're showing that there is an ability to also like thrive, or at least trying to thrive in your personal life on top of that with a business. Because I'm sure the common myth, right? It's like it's one or the other, and I'm sure temporarily, there are trade-offs during really busy periods. I have crazy periods. we all do, right?
Absolutely.
Like, when a deal's closing, you're like on it, right? But
totally.
The fact that you're able to like sense, and one thing we talked about a couple of days ago is that you have this like big year calendar. Like walk us through that, like because you have this.
Yes. Yeah.
How does that look like for you?
Totally. So going back to the theme of like designing your schedule with intention. This year I really felt that I wanted to take that to another level. And so there's this thing, I don't know, it popped up on my Instagram. It was like a suggested reel. You know, our phones are listening to us. It's all good. But yeah, I saw this like reel for like this big ass calendar. Essentially, it's like a calendar that has every single day of the year, plain view for you to see.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, okay, I know what I want to commit myself to. Like my number one priority in life is my family.
Yeah.
There are certain events and like things that I just don't want to miss out on. And so for me, like I'm a really visual guy, and having that calendar right in front of me and blocking those days like 1 year in advance gives me the opportunity to schedule my work in a way that works for myself and my family, but also the demands of running a business, right? So yeah, I think, you know, that was one that I felt very, very strongly about. And it's been a really good exercise too, just, you know, having that vision for what you wanted to accomplish and following through with it. Yeah, like, you know, I'm a big believer in having a vision. I think it's, you know, it doesn't matter what position you are, what stage of life you are. I think if you're always working towards something greater than yourself, it almost like helps you get through the harder times a little bit more easier than they might be, right? So yeah, I think that's been a big thing for me as well this last little bit.
You know, part of why I think we get along so well is that I'm also a visual person too, right? And so much of what you said just clicks. It clicks. It's kind of like going on the Gross Grind, which is a local mountain here in BC. And if you know that the top is there, it helps you kind of go through the grind.
Totally.
Right? If there's no direction, you're just like, I'm done.
Absolutely.
When you're creating, and I love this concept of being intentional about the time and not just like the days, but like zooming out for the year. Was there certain like criteria? Because I'm also sure there's like business, like trade conferences you have to be at, and like, how do you also accommodate for like buffer time or like, curious to know how you navigate that.
Well, I mean, there's just, you know, I kept it simple this year. Like there's certain key dates, like birthdays. I don't want to be in the office. I want to be like with my family, whoever's birthday it is. I want to create like a special day for them. Like I really want to, I don't want to just show up after work and be tired and like go for dinner. Like I want to have that opportunity to create something memorable. So birthdays was like really important for me on my calendar. You know, certain days that might come up, like my daughter's like ballet recital that's coming up at the end of June. Like that's something that I really want to be a part of, to support her. She hasn't really taken to it. Like quite honestly, it's been a struggle every Saturday to get her to a ballet class. So I want to show her that like I'm invested, and you know I'm excited for all the work that she's put in. But yeah, other than that, then when you talk about work things, there are some things that I also can't get around for work because they're critical to my role. Trade shows being one of them. So you know, I think, you know, blocking those in the calendar, and also like being open with the calendar, right? This is not a calendar for me. This is like for my wife and I, so that it's fully transparent what's going on in our life this upcoming year. And I think just giving her that like opportunity to see like well in advance what's coming has also been like a big game changer, even just for our marriage, right?
Oh wow.
So yeah, like there are many benefits to, you know, having clarity, and this is one way that I wanted to bring it into 2026.
Jordan, I think you're saving my marriage here, man. This is, this is the exact, like, I want to say fight. It was like our heated discussion that,
Totally.
that I had with my wife yesterday, because I have a tendency to just like fill any gap with like stuff. Right?
Yes, totally.
Like it's, I don't know, there's something that's like a vacuum. Like, I can do that, man, do that, right?
Yeah.
And I think from her perspective, it just feels like I'm not putting her time and not thinking about her like top of mind.
Totally.
But I think I like what you said there about like, okay, by showcasing the count is not just for you, it's for your wife as well. It's like, I actually intentionally blocked this time for you because I know it's your birthday or like whatnot. Dude, man, this is great.
How
come we didn't
we'll take it. It was like $30 on Amazon. Go get one right now.
We were talking about it last week. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But you're right though, because I think part of it is when you say that, hey, this is for the two of us, and they see those chunks of time in the year. Man, I'm gonna reflect on this. Michelle, thank you.
Yeah, totally.
$30 well invested here. One thing I want to just pivot topics if I can as well. You know, we talk about you have, you know, taking care of 3 under 6, right? I, as you probably know, I have a newborn. He's 2.5 months old. Any advice?
Oh God.
Any advice?
Well, you know what? Like for me, like as I've gone through the years, I think, you know, the biggest thing is you just have to be able to roll with the punches. You know, stuff's gonna happen, meltdowns are gonna come out of the blue. Like, you just have to, I think, you know, for me, when those moments happen, because they still do happen, one thing that's been a game changer for me is actually like just centering myself before I approach the situation or my child. I think, you know, when it's a high stress moment and you just kind of like jump in and try to fix it right away, those are the times where I've always felt like I've kind of lost control of, you know, how I wanted to show up and my composure. So yeah, just having that quick moment to center yourself, I think, has been huge for me. But also realizing that every child is different, right? Like, it was so difficult with our first because it was new. You know, everything was like us learning on the fly. And then our second came out and he was like sleeping on his own at 3 months. So like, you know, it couldn't have gone any easier from our first to second. And then the third, like, we were just like, you know, we kind of got this now. Let's just do what we know how to do. Yeah.
I like your notion of rolling with the punches, right? Because I think back on all the mistakes I made is probably when I've jumped in.
Yeah, you know, you kind of just want to get in there, right?
Like, let me do this.
It's out of a good intention, but, you know, sometimes what comes out of that is not the best, right? And that's kind of like the point of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, especially jumping in and like rolling with it, and also like I guess like adapting accordingly. You know, another big question is also like schools, right? Like, how do you decide like which kind of daycare? Like, I mean, that's a whole different story, right? You and I were riffing a little bit about like this outdoor preschool. Walk me through that. Which sounds really cool, by the way. I've heard of it. I haven't had any friends who've put their kids through it. I'd love to hear about that actually from you, if that's okay.
Yeah. So I think, like, you know, this kind of goes back to what I said about earlier about like not every child's the same. Like with our eldest, we were quite blown away that she was like starting to say words at like 9 or 10 months already. Like, we didn't know anything about babies, but we just felt like that was crazy. And so, you know, it kind of came out of necessity that we sent her to a daycare, but this was a daycare where they were like teaching the kids in their final year, like addition, subtraction, like learning how to like spell like easy words at that time. And she was like maybe only like 4 or 5, right? And so, you know, that was my daughter. And my son, like, he's much more like experiential. Like, he's like a really physical kind of guy.
Yeah.
Loves exerting his energy. And so for us, we're like, okay, if we put him in that same, you know, situation that Everson, he's gonna go crazy.
Really? Yeah.
And so we were looking all over the place for like different options that had more like play-based opportunities for the kids. And we came across this great program that's in Richmond where we live. It's called the Nature School.
Sponsor us next episode.
Yeah, exactly. And like, they're out there, rain, shine, snow, torrential downpour, you name it, they're outside. And the teachers, I guess the caretakers, they're extremely gentle and patient with the kids. And it's just been really, really good for them. So yeah, I mean, they're kind of like our guinea pigs, as I guess all kids are with parents. Like, I remember growing up, for me, like, my dad starting a health company, like, we'd be the first to try like products and stuff.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Here you go, try this.
Yeah, exactly.
Collagen
You know?
powder.
I remember, like, because we played competitive hockey growing up, and like he launched like a reishi mushroom product, which is like good for stamina. And so we'd be trying that, like bringing that to our dressing rooms, and like all our friends would be like, "What the heck is that?" Right? But it's that just, I guess, same kind of like discovery with your own children, right? So yeah, for me, you know, when we look at our kids, there's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna do, you know, the best for the individual is our approach.
I mean, that was really well summarized, by the way, right? Because it's great because you notice that if you put your son through the same stricter program that your eldest went through, that it probably wouldn't have worked, right? Like,
no, yeah. Who knows what would have happened, right? He might have turned into some crazy like ball of fire every day. So, anyways, it's good. It's been really good for our family.
Yeah, I like that because it's so easy to think of like this one box to try to fit in, but like playing to that nuance and beyond. I guess parenting wise, I know your brother, right, also has kids too. Like, do you guys like brainstorm parenting, or like how do you, or are there things that the way your dad parented you that you carried through, or like what's been? Yeah, curious to know like if you have any insights there. Or like...
Yeah, you know, I think we talk about it like every so often. But as you can imagine, like, I say probably 90% of our discussions around business.
Yes. All right. How the kids good. Okay,
yeah,
let's talk about getting this product from China
yeah,
to
exactly.
Vancouver.
Being partners or whatever. But no, yeah, I think there's a lot that we've taken from our parents for sure. Like that's just what we grew up and knew as parenting. But I think there's also a little bit of unlearning as you step into parenthood, right? Like you start to realize, things that you experienced that maybe you don't want your kids to experience growing up, and you adapt, you change, like you maybe take what you experienced and you make it better for the next generation. And I think that's the true privilege that we have as parents is giving our younger generation, our kids, a better opportunity than what we had growing up. And I think just my dad's story of how he came here with like not much at all. He came here because he studied super hard, had a full ride scholarship, and he was like photocopying his friends' textbooks to like get the content that he needed to study, right?
Wow.
So just like hearing stories like that and not losing, sight of the good that our parents taught us, but also being aware of like the not so good that was imparted to us.
Yeah.
And bringing that to our kids, I think is like really critical for how we parent our kids, at least.
I really like the way you talked about unlearning here, right? Because there's one way to be like, okay, you could carry through the things that were good and bad through it, but you also have the privilege of parenting is like being able to like be that person, kind of shift that direction, right?
Totally.
But it does require intent, right? Because there's default habits that we
Absolutely.
probably carry through.
Absolutely.
But the fact that you're like, okay, let me be a little more intentional here, right? And there is that initial resistance, but once you break through, that's really interesting. One question that often comes up as I'm talking to other fellow dads, and I'm still trying to figure this out too, right? Because you talked about your dad's humble beginnings and how that inspired your journey. How does one carry that through to, your kids as well too, right? I don't think you're probably not gonna like push them on the streets and have them experience hardship, right? Yeah. Or like to photocopy whatever, totally. Right? So what does that? Do you think about that? Or what does that look like? It might be earlier on, but early in the stages. But curious to know your thoughts on how do you carry through that quote unquote drive, if that's the right word to use.
Yeah, I think what's pretty cool about the way that we were brought up is that we always had a choice. And it seems like, oh yeah, you should have a choice, but like in a lot of families, like in our generation, like a lot of kids didn't have a choice. They had to do like certain things, like they had to either practice piano for like 4 hours a day or like go to Kumon 3 times a week. Right? Like there's just certain things. And I think for us, like it was always a choice, but if we chose to do something, the only requirement is that we followed through. And so that's kind of what I'm going through right now with my daughter. Like I talked about ballet earlier and how she was super excited to do it last summer. We found the program for her. We signed her up, and like literally 2 weeks in, she's like, I don't want to go. And it's been like that ever since for the past 3 months. But I think, there is a lot to learn pushing through the resistance, so to speak.
Yeah.
And coming out at the end of it, like with this beautiful, outcome or product or skill that she's picked up. And I hope that when she does have that eventual, recital or performance at the end of the year, that she can, kind of see that. She's 6 years old, so maybe the expectations are too high. But, I think it's like going through things like that, like consistently as they go through their childhood and into their teenage years, I think will set them up for success going into, adulthood.
I think there's a lot of truth to what you shared there, right? And of course, like having certain milestones, maybe like you tried for a year or two, whatever the case is. I just had a callback, a flashback to memory of mine where my mom put me into piano, I think unwillingly, for me, unwillingly. And I think I was probably like, similar to you, I don't want to go to piano lessons. Like, I think I did it for like I think I was doing that for 3 years. Wow. Like, my mom is very, very resilient.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Absolutely resilient. But like, in some sense, I am so grateful because there's something that clicked 3 years in where I think my teacher figured out the way I'm motivated. A lot of it's through stickers.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, okay. I like stickers, right?
Yeah.
You can see, like, She got me these stickers that we scratch it. It's like a nice little smell. I'm
Nice.
like, I want that.
Love those back in the day, by the way.
Yeah, it's like a motivator, right?
Yeah.
And it's so maybe it's like adapting to that. And then she started to put me into like piano competitions. I'm like, oh, I like shiny things, right?
Nice.
And it just leads, right? And then in high school, I'm like, oh, I could write music and play guitar to help me with the opposite sex, because I wasn't a hockey guy. I was not very athletic, but I could play music. So super grateful. I know it's a random analogy, but I think you're onto something, right? There's something about that, developing that drive, whether it's through pushing through these hobbies, right? And just like not easily giving up, which is easy to do for sure.
Totally.
This has been awesome. I guess like, as we kind of round out, the corner on fatherhood and fun, right? What is something that like you're excited about in this like next chapter of fatherhood for you? Like what is something that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I think, for me, I'm discovering a new side of my children this year. The backstory of that is like my daughter, she's just transferred to a new school. So there's a lot of, she was in daycare. She graduated daycare, went to, her kindergarten school for 1 year. We moved and then she transitioned to a new school. So it hasn't been the easiest for her, but I've seen like a new level of resilience almost in putting herself out there, trying to make new friends. And then for my son too, like this is his first year in preschool. So a lot of big feelings when he first started out, but I've seen him kind of settle in, and I do make an effort to drop him off sometimes, and just to see like that sort of welcome circle that they have in the morning. They sing songs, they exercise, get the body warm because they're outside, has been really cool. And then, my youngest, she's 1.5 years, and, with her, like my wife is speaking Chinese to her exclusively.
Oh, yeah.
And so she hasn't like spoken yet, but she's now starting to like learn like simple words to communicate. So it's really cool to see her like develop into a language that was not, with our first or second. Just so cool. And you get surprised every single day. Like there's just something new that always comes up. And I think, like going back to what I said earlier, like the first thing I said about having fun, it's just like being able to be thankful for those moments and like really see the joy in like some of these things, easier said than done 100%, but something that I'm working on as a father this year.
I really like what you said there about that perspective, because even as you talked, even though you did the callback to earlier, I was thinking that as well too, right? Like it's easy to lose sight of the fun parts of it, and just like be in the day-to-day. And of course, like that happens, right? When we're like caught up in the work and beyond. But the fact that you're leaning towards like noticing the fun parts of it and seeing the differences show up in a great way, that's like really encouraging. Actually I have one additional question I want to ask you, because you talked about transitions, right? Like helping your children transition into new schools. I am probably going to be going through that in September, right? As she goes from preschool to a kindergarten program.
Yeah.
Any advice? having gone through it twice, I guess.
Man, I think I think for us it was like our daughter, she's a little bit more reserved and less outgoing than I guess other kids. So I think what really helped our daughter is just getting to know some of the other parents, right? Because when they see you chatting with other parents at pick up or drop off, and their children come around them, and your child is around you, it kind of like opens up an opportunity for them to talk or make a new friend. And I think for my daughter, when she was going into her first year, like just having that like even just one person was a world of difference for her and her experience. So yeah, I think, as a parent, sometimes you just send your kids off and you're on your own kind of thing. And that, sometimes, times call for that, which is totally, everybody has their own situation.
Yeah.
But if you have the opportunity to do that, I think that would make like a world of difference for that first year of a new school, probably way more kids.
Yes.
And less attention from their teacher, right? Than, what she'd probably be getting in her daycare.
That's a really good piece of advice, right? As I'm paraphrasing, like part of it sounds like you model it by actually being the one to reach out,
absolutely.
Right? With that one parent or that one group, right? That way your children can feel like, oh, okay, dad and mom are connecting with this, whatever, right? Like some of the parents, and like, hey, kind of eases that. That's a really good, man, there's so many like wisdom bombs here.
This is just life being lived, man.
dude,
I'm just sharing what I've experienced.
My
That's
editor
it.
is going to have fun trying to find the right reels to kind of clip here. This is very
Nice.
awesome. Well, let's grab lunch after this. Maybe we'll pop by Chinatown Barbecue.
Yes.
I think we have some time to grab food. Well, happy to eat in front of the camera, but I'm sure y'all don't want to see that. But as we round it out, is there anything that you want to share about that before we close it off in terms of like your fatherhood journey or even your business, whatever the case is? Let us. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I think just going back to what I said, like, be present. Know the season that you're in because it's not going to last forever. And have fun with it. That's what I keep going back to. Like you need to learn how to have fun. Sometimes we lose that, and we're so serious or we're so like regimented. Like we need to do this way, and kids are not like that, and life is certainly not like that, right? So, if I could leave with one thing, that would be it.
What an ending. You gotta come back on the show more often, man. I loved it.
Oh, man.
Well, we're gonna close it out. We'll do our usual debrief after this, but I'm gonna grab lunch with Jordan because this is awesome. So chat to you all soon. Thanks.
See you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. That was an incredible episode. I had so many wisdom bombs. Jordan, thank you for saving my marriage as well too. Honestly, my biggest takeaway is actually being that super intentional with time. I know a past guest, Bruce, also talked about time, and Jordan took the theme and even ran with it even further. And so I love the idea of having that annual calendar and really blocking off those big chunks, because then you could see it and you could prioritize around it. This is an ongoing, heated discussion that I have with my wife, and a lot of it's self-inflicted. And so I'm gonna try it. That way you can see a shared calendar, not just on a weekly basis, but on year basis. Great tidbit. The second big one is really that mindset shift about fun, right? It's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to feel tired as a dad. Absolutely, we all do. Jordan is a business exec. He has 3 kids under 6, but try to lean into finding the fun in fatherhood. I love it. I love it. It's a practice. I get it. It's a practice. Jordan's honest about it. It is a struggle at times, but leaning towards finding the moments of fun can really transform because our kids are only young for so long. And so with that was a great episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Jordan, you're awesome, my friend. Thanks for joining us on the car. For those who are listening, if you like it, please share it out. We learn and grow from word of mouth. And also follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And reach out on LinkedIn if you want to chat further. All right, with that, cheers. Have a great day, and we'll see you at the next episode. Cheers. Bye.